All right. Good evening, everybody. So good evening to all our presenters, two presenters, and also our participants. It's a little bit quiet, of course, because everybody else is actually muted, but nevertheless, we welcome everybody. So my name is Felicia, and I'll be the moderator for this session or this talk for tonight. So thank you guys for joining. So this is rather going to be a more serious, but we're trying to keep it a bit more conversational and light as possible. But definitely we will be speaking about sexual offenses, right? The stigma and reality. So that's the topic for tonight. And with me are two presenters, esteemed presenters, Mr. Devaneson Ganeson, a junior partner at Dinesh, Muthal and Co.
Hello, everyone.
Right. Hello. How's it going? Good.
Good, good.
All right. Okay. Okay. So if you see anybody coming in, the co-host can also allow them in. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. So I'm just going to continue and not basically just to give you a brief introduction about presenters. Mr. David is basically specialized, he specializes in criminal litigation and being, mutual friends as well. We have mutual friends and close contact actually since MCO. We also spark conversations because he has actually keen interest in the fight against sexual harassment in Malaysia. So hence why we have tonight's topic as well. So thank you so much for allowing me to be part of the session and asking me to be part of the team to moderate this session. And he has also taken initiative to spark conversation through this talk. So hence, this is our first one. And also with us, we have Miss Aminath Naufa Nazeer, legal intern at Dinesh, Muthal and Co. Hi. And she's also very passionate about standing up for women's rights and the battle against sexual offences. So tonight's agenda and flow will roughly be about general brief about on sexual offences cases in Malaysia, okay, rape and sexual assault. So we will actually have questions for the presenters. So we will have generally a very easygoing flow so that our presenters can present to you. And the main objective is also to identify the different sexual offenses, what to do in these cases and associated stigma, and basically how to improve mindset. Okay, so we are discussing the stigma and the reality of it. Definitely in the recent, I mean, it has been an alarming number in Malaysia, definitely. 3,000 rape cases in Malaysia every year, unreported cases as well. So I think as a member of the public, I would also be very interested to know more. And also, it's great that our presenter, who is actually very well versed, can clarify for us and discuss a little bit more about, the situation and also what are the differences, but definitely would like to also bring up in like a lot of all these like sexual abuse cases and assaults, happen to a lot, not just women, children, men, but by usually those who they trust. So this is also another reason why it's really important to normalize this talk so that we can actually, the whole mission and objective about this session tonight, it's hopefully to spark more conversation, get the ball rolling, get more people to talk about it, right? So yeah, let's get down to business. So first of all, right, maybe let's try to clarify the difference between sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and rape in Malaysia. Mr. Devan, would you like to clarify on that?
Yes. Okay. So the first thing is, I think there are five things that happen, five common, five common words used that people don't actually know what is it. So for rape, it means to have sexual intercourse without consent or against her will. That is described as per the Act in Section 375. of the Penal Code. Now, Section 376 talks about the punishment. For rape, it's about 20 years imprisonment and whipping. For the second thing we will look into is statutory rape. Now, statutory rape is defined in Section 375G, which goes on to say this: anyone below the age of 16, regardless of whether there is consent, it's considered rape. So if that person even gives consent, but she is below the age of 16, it's considered rape. And a good example of this case of a statutory rape would be the Noor Afizal Azizian case. If you people remember, it was the bowling player who the Court of Appeal ruled against in his favor, actually. This was about in year 2012, I think. Yeah. Then the next, you oftenly used phrase is sexual assault. But what does it mean actually is that it's sexual contact without consent. Any form of sexual contact without consent is considered sexual assault. And the usual or the predominantly used area of law that governs this section, this sexual assault, is outrage of modesty, Section 354 of the Penal Code. Now, Section 354, the punishment goes up to 10 years or a fine. And secondly, sometimes Section 377CA is used, and this is in regards to objects inserted in the private parts of the victim. Now, the fourth area of law, area that usually often used, is sexual abuse. This is usually sexual abuse against children, and this is governed by the Sexual Offences Against Children Act 2017. Of course, in these areas, when it comes to sexual abuse, most there's sexual grooming, which is physical or non-physical sexual contact towards a child below the age of 18. And that is governed in Section 11 and 12. So it doesn't have to be a sexual conduct. You can just be any form of conduct towards a child is considered sexual conduct, is considered sexual grooming. And there's child pornography, that's governed under Section 4 to Section 10 of the Sexual Offences Against Children Act. So child pornography is actually now illegal in Malaysia.
All right.
Also, Section 19 of the Sexual Offences Against Children Act now makes it illegal to not report a child abuse. If you are aware of a sexual abuse against children happening, you need to report it. You could be fined up to 5,000 ringgit. And that's a positive note on that. So lastly, this area that's most popularly used in social media and national media is that sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. The best way to define this, because there is no bill or there is no act as of now yet that is governing this area of law. And if it's the bill is ready, the sexual harassment bill is ready, but it has not been tendered in the parliament yet. There's no vote being casted yet. It's easily can be defined as unwanted or unwelcomed conduct that is sexual in nature. This can be committed physically, verbally, non-verbally, psychologically, of course, towards a person, which may cause that person to feel humiliated or harassed. So that's how, as of now, they're planning to define sexual harassment. And this often occurs not just in workplaces, in public area, but it also occurs in social media. As of, I think, since May 2020 till date, I think the Awam, the Women Association, has received up to 50 reports, solid reports in regards to social media sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hope this clarifies things.
All right.
So yeah. Again, like I would repeat, is rape, statutory rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual harassment.
Okay, so any form, especially because mentioned about a lot of children are actually involved in a lot of because they cannot really speak up, and any form of conduct towards them, it's considered sexual grooming under age of 16.
Uh, as per the Act of Sexual Offences Against Children Act, they have actually broadened it till 18.
Okay, all right,
So
yeah.
child is, yeah, below the age of 18, they can be considered a child.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I also understand, and or as a woman and also member of the public, I think I applaud that. Uh, and you have shared this info with me,
Mm.
that you and your partners and Dinesh, Muthal and co do not defend sexual offenders. Maybe you can also enlighten us on why you decided that.
It was a decision, it was collective decision, and actually it aligns with all the partners in the firm. Mr. Dinesh and myself and Ms. Menega, all of us agree that, uh, we agreed on this stand. But as for why, personally for me, is that I've had the opportunity to deal with certain victims, rape victims, and the pain that they go through and the suffering they go through, both physically and emotionally. I've had the, I would say, I had the chance to see that, and you know, it's one of the ways that fellow friend of mine described was that they relieve the torment of the events every day, and it can be said that they die every day they are alive, and the
Mm,
victims go through such torment, and for me it's just my compassion towards them.
mm.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I think that is very clear. Okay, great. So maybe we move on next to Miss Naufa.
Hello.
So,
Yeah.
as what is an aspect uh, of sexual offences that you may have learned as a legal intern yourself that may not known by the general public?
Okay. So I feel like first of all, thank you for asking that. And next is I feel like the general public may not be aware that even if say a rape victim says that they're raped, and of course the offense is justified and everything, uh, I think it's very insensitive to ask personally a rape victim to uh, provide proof or evidence of the crime that has occurred. But I think the general public don't understand that the court of law requires evidence, and
Mm-hmm.
I think in usually when we get cases, victims, they might feel like we are trying to belittle their experience or we are trying to bring them down, but that's not the case at all. um, I feel like the law binds us all to a level platform where we are all judged equally. And it's that system that requires evidence. So I feel like maybe that's something that may not be understood by everyone out there. So I think that's something I'd like to highlight. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think it requires they need to know that law has also compassion, like what Mr. David has actually mentioned just now,
Yeah.
and even you are entering the law and being an intern, you're in the final year and everything. So this gives you that kind of insight and how you should be when you are representing a client in the future.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, so maybe let's shift this focus. We talk about we do talk about the sexual offenses and the offenders, and most what Miss Nafa actually has mentioned is that it's a lot on when you are asked about the experience of these these victims, a lot of them are actually very focused on, blaming the victims. It's very like a lot of victim shaming and victim focus, right? So definitely, I already mentioned from the beginning as an introduction that average there's about 3,000 cases that's reported, and there's an alarming number that it's not something very nice to share it out. I think some people share it after 5 years, 10 years, and maybe will bring it to their grave. They wouldn't want to even talk about. So there is definitely a stigma associated to it, and then hopefully with this session, we can actually try to normalize and give definitely people who was affected by these crimes a safe space to actually share, and so maybe we can talk a little bit about the effects of the stigma. So maybe Mr. Devan, you would like to answer that?
Yeah. So again, as you have mentioned earlier, the statistic shows 3,000 people, and but that's just the reported numbers.
Yes.
According to the Penang, if I'm not mistaken, the Penang Women Center for Change, that number is just 10% of what is actually happening. About 90% of rape cases are actually go unreported. And if you take into that statistics, and in other words, it's about every 35 minutes, and this is as per that article, that someone is being raped in Malaysia. Now, the stigma that is associated with this is that this 90% unreported is that it actually leads to victims not reporting the said incident that happened to them. And it's still taboo. It's still taboo. Sexual offenses is still taboo in this country, and we are not open to talk about it. We are not able to support, and the victims don't have a support or a structure for them to cope. And incidentally, what happens is they don't report the incidents that happen. And this again is also supported by the 2014 article by the Star, which says that this great reporter, she mentioned that again it's about 30,000 projected cases of rape happening in Malaysia, but 90% of those offenders walk free. And the saddest thing is, and if you look into the recent Me Too movement, where I think it was about 220 posts of women saying, "Oh, I also was sexually assaulted or raped by this X particular person," and they came out. And inadvertently, what we realize is that by not reporting, it has led to people, this offenders actually who were not reported against, become repeat offenders. You know, so in just the real effect of the social stigma that is attached to rape victims, the first thing they go through is they don't feel they are protected. They don't feel they are protected by the system. And when they are not protected, they don't feel comfortable to make a report or to come out in public. It is also victim blaming.
Yes.
They go through this whole situation where they are asked what they were wearing, why you were out this late, who was this guy, how do you know this guy, and this sort of questions and non-acceptance from the general public and even family members and friends leads to them not coming out and making a report. And in actuality, the report should be made within a day of the incident happening. So not reporting actually clearly shows that some offenders are walking free. That's the real effect.
Much for that. Yeah, definitely it's very alarming because I think as women, I think there are a few women I think on the call as well. I think we agree that I think this is like a blueprint since young, where we are taught to stick to a certain curfew, do not go late out, do not uh, you know go out with a male. Could be a friend, could be a relative, stay safe, and, do not wear certain clothes that may, be asking for it. So we are definitely programmed to think that way. Hence why it is a hard, it is very, it's not an easy task to actually try to take away that stigma as well. So we need to start talking about how by reporting can actually reduce the serial and the repeat cases, because these people are walking free and they should be actually brought to the law and being definitely being brought to task for their crimes. So hence why the session today, it's really sharing about that. So maybe I will show some stats here. Data of sexually abused children. These are all taken from the Ministry of Women, Family, Community Development. So this is July 2018. So we can see the type of offense, rape, incest, molest, sodomy. Is like a lot of all these cases are actually done, or these crimes are done by those who they trust, who they actually know. And it is a very sad reality. And the cases are definitely not reducing. Maybe there is like a little bit numbers up and down, but it's definitely not reducing. Okay, let me share another one.
While Felicia is going to be shared in the data, I'd like to point out that those statistics are not showing the complete picture because there's so much that goes unreported, as Mr. Devon has also pointed out. So
Yeah.
whatever is in statistics is only based on what's being reported, what's being, brought to light, what's gone to court. Everything that's reported is in those statistics. So it's very alarming and scary to think that there's so many women out there who are not making such a report and who's not represented in these numbers. And yes, so this is the data of rape crime
Mm-hmm.
from years 2013 to 2018, right?
This is the latest May 2019. So
Okay.
yeah, I think yeah, given it's definitely a lot of it is I'm actually going to move on to my next question for both of you. Definitely, it's predominantly women. We are not trying to say that it doesn't happen to men as well. I think we are not trying to create a double standard. Um, and there's a recent case as well as like the recent sex chat group expose, prompts or tough laws. I think Mr. David has mentioned that there's actually a bill pending for about, I think, 2 years now, and because of our situation that's not very, there's pandemic, there's political situation all put together, and nobody is moving forward with tougher strict laws to actually look into solving these cases. So definitely this is a recent case on people sharing, and a lot of people just put it like, oh, this probably women are, this 4 women that has actually reported it, and it could be just brushed off as like a normal daily conversation, like, oh, probably they're overreacting. It's just some silly jokes that people are passing around, informations or videos or whatever not. So this is actually quite sad. That's actually the reality of it. So definitely my next question would be on like in sexual offenses and assault, predominantly, is it really a woman, is it women's problem? Ms. Naufa, maybe you would like to have a jab on that.
Yes, I feel like to keep it short, I would say yes, it is predominantly a woman's problem because from the examples that you yourself illustrated, we have so many cultural incepts where we say, oh, girls, you should, be careful of your clothing, you should not go out when it's too late, I feel like it's a woman's problem because people make it a woman's problem. That cultural mindset is there, but I
Mm,
think with that said, it's very important to highlight that it's not just women that are facing this issue. There are men, there are people of all ages who suffer from sexual harassment and sexual offenses. But I feel like with women, it's easier to blame the victims. It's easier to justify it somehow, even if it really is not right.
mm.
So I feel like with that said, we should really be proactive and speak to our peers and our sisters and our family members to make sure that we are all safe. So yes.
Yeah, that is very true. I think we are quite far from it. I mean, at least we are actually talking about it right now. So even these days, I'm trying. Do my best to actually rethink certain things that I say. Oh, even down to like. Even like, oh, women drivers are, that's a different topic. Women drivers are like bad drivers, right? So yeah, so even those kind of sexist remark, I try not to use it. And I do my best because I think as women, we ourselves put ourselves down. I mean, of course, you would see in these cases, definitely people are not coming to speak up because they are they're fearful. They have the fear of being judged.
Yeah.
So we should definitely stop victim blaming and victim shaming in that sense. So and normalize, and give them a safe platform to actually share, and hopefully more reported cases, and people will be brought to task for their crimes, and we shall have like a safer place, safer country to live in. Definitely, maybe we can, dive a little bit deeper on the present state of Malaysia with regards to sexual cases. So David, would you like to maybe talk
Yeah.
a little bit about it? Yeah.
I think the reality is that, as we have mentioned earlier, about 30,000 cases is projected, but only 10% is reported. This is also by the Women Aid Organization and also by the Penang Women Center for Change. Both of them have reported this. And however, it's an issue that is not being accepted as a real issue here. And action needs to be taken. The public has to, there needs to be an awareness created of how bad the numbers are really are, you know. And the like I said, because of the victim blaming, because there's a social stigma that is attached to it, the people are not talking about this. People are not making an effort to talk to someone. You would be surprised by just asking one of your peers, one of your friends, one of your family members. They might have gone through this, but they have not talked about it. They have repressed such event that happened. They have repressed it to themselves. They have been suffering all by themselves all these years. It could have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We don't know for sure. And I believe that, that's the present state is that hopefully by sparking a conversation, hopefully by, you know, addressing this problem, bringing this to the proper authorities and, bringing this issue to the proper channels, hopefully that this issue can be, because again, the numbers that are projected are really staggering. Up until, I think the sexual abuses against children in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Amar, he said that 1 in 10 child has been sexually abused. Out of 750,000 children that were taken in that study, 1 in 10 child has been sexually abused. This is not a small issue. This should not be swept under the carpet. It has to be addressed. And hopefully by sparking a conversation, we can, we can make our country safer for women and children.
Right.
That's
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the children should definitely be taken. I mean, these are our future generation, and I've spoken in another platform about psychological traumas, and these are the things that will being spill over into their relationships and how they are, how they function in the society later on. So they are our future leaders. So protecting our children is really, really important, I feel. And definitely, like, things, yeah, I think when you say, action needs to be taken, not just by campaigning a Me Too or, Time's Up. We actually need to be actively speaking, having this conversation outside of social media, like you say. Even I actually take time to correct if a male counterpart who's probably think that it's a joke, nowadays calling another female that's obviously not your wife or your girlfriend sayang or dear is actually considered harassment. So I feel that it is a very important thing to correct them. I mean, with love. I mean, if you know them well, right? So maybe they do not mean harm, but it is a very important thing, I feel, to sort of make that don't use the excuse like, oh, boys will be boys, it's just they're just being extra friendly. I think certain actions and this conversation should be actually discussed, and this platform, this talk today will be actually like a,
Yeah.
having a more well-informed community out there. Yeah, you were saying?
No, the reality is that there's a
Mm,
lack of acceptance towards
mm,
victims of
mm,
this sexual offenses, and accept that this is happening,
mm,
support them, provide them this support, and help, just give them that support that they need, and address that, that this is a real issue in our country.
Don't just brush it off. I think that's
Yeah,
important, regardless
talk about
whether,
it, not taboo anymore.
yeah. All right, great. So, yeah, and if anyone in the audience would actually participate, we have, let's see. Oh, we do have 12 participants, I mean, including the three of us. So if you have any question, you can type in the chat box. If we do have time, we will do our best to address it. Okay, something, maybe there is a message you would like to end with regards to this matter. I mean, on what note would you like to end this whole session? Like, how would you summarize it, Mr. Devan?
I would say that it's 2020. It's 20 years after the millennium, and it's time for us to give the support that, as a society, as a friend, as whoever you may be to that particular person, give them the support they need. Stop victim blaming. Be Help them to be more open to make a police report, and
Mm,
let the authorities be given the opportunity to take that action, to take
mm,
action against this type of offenders. And hopefully down the road, my hope is that with this support and this structure and the change in mentality, we can change this culture, you know and hopefully, like I said earlier before, make a country a better place for victims of this type.
all right. Yeah, that's a really good message. And yeah, maybe Ms. Nafa would like to share something about, should Malaysia have our own Time's Up or Me Too movement? Because we always think about, how we are always looking to other people, like, like, oh, when a celebrity says that or whatever. So what do you think? Maybe you have any additional sentiments that you would like to add on, your vision, because as a person entering, you'll be a lawyer and representing clients and representing, fighting for cases. Maybe you would like to, yeah, have add on any additional comments on it.
Yes, so I feel like, any initiative that's taken towards this cause would be a good initiative. So if you are to, launch into another Me Too movement or a movement with another name, it's all well and good. But I think one more thing I'd like to highlight on is that one of the stigma that's associated with sexual offenses is that most people who experience this feel like they're weak for accepting it. So I would really like to urge people, to feel like they're not being weak. If anything, it's being brave, coming forth with your story, empowering others while doing so. And I think one key takeaway is that boundaries should not be crossed.
Mm,
And I think that's something you can hold on to. Whenever you feel your boundary is being crossed, there's something wrong there. So I think that's when you should start acting on it and so forth.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think what you're trying to say is like Time's Up and Me Too starts with you, starts with, within, not, from a movement outside. So, but hopefully this will spark more, definitely an interest, and, as we try to move away from the stigma and try to empower men and women to take charge and also take responsibility, right? Because now is really the best time to use the hashtag kita jaga kita, right? And especially during these tough times. Yeah. So we do have a question. So do we have the time to answer it?
I believe we do, yes?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I think from Declan, I mean, if my pronunciation is right, I'm wondering if anyone has seen the sexual harassment bill draft and what is lacking in the current draft. And actually, it's two in one questions. And also regarding support for survivors, I am wondering if there's any comments or recommendation in the current support system.
As of now, the bill, the draft is not out yet. We haven't seen it yet. But as for my hope is that they will pass it. And even if it's lacking in any way, we can always file. They can always make an amendment to the act But getting the bill through Parliament is the real hard hustle right now. And I think Awam and also the Women's Aid Organization, they are really going through a tough time getting this bill through. And more support is welcomed from the general public in that. And uh, the second part is recommendations in the current support system. I would say that with most victims that we realize is that one, they, like we said, they're not coming out. You know, we're talking about nearly 27,000 women annually not being supported enough for them to make a report. And actually, the police are willing to do the investigation if given the right report and within the time and the evidence, they're willing to do the job. But like we said, the social stigma and the lack of support from the general public. We're not talking about just therapists, we're talking about family members and friends who are, you know, quick to jump and blame the victim. And eventually, what happens is these victims blame themselves. So, yeah, the best would be in the current system is to change the mentality within the public, the society at the moment. Stop victim blaming. Nothing in the section 375 and 376, I've read through it many times, that actually says anything in regards to the role that the victim plays. If it's against her will or if it's again without her consent, it's considered rape. You shouldn't blame the victim.
Right. I think we should all take responsibility of it, not just depending on the law to actually do something. I mean, in the law we trust to bring justice, to bring peace and balance. But definitely we have to take responsibility of what we say, what we share, and how we think and how we make pass certain judgment. There is one follow-up question from the Declan as well. Speaking of stigmatization, there was a case where a senior bar member allegedly molested a survivor in a bar event. I'm wondering if the bar has done anything to support survivors.
I think the bar has taken a stand because the victim has made a police report about the incident, and the police have started an investigation, and they have, I believe the matter has been brought to court. So we're waiting, and I think the bar is waiting for the outcome of the court. And as much once it has been, the court has declared what has happened, and then I think the bar council will be there to make a decision on what to be done. But as for now, I think it's a matter that is being dealt with in the court.
All right. That's good. And okay, maybe one more question from Putri. How would you suggest us to spread more awareness on rape to the public as it is still considered as a taboo subject? Now, Miss Naufa, yeah, maybe you would like to.
Please take this.
Yes, I feel like this is something that we have to shift in our mindset really. If we start talking more about it, it won't be taboo anymore. But then I think conversations like this, talks like this, gatherings that are related to this cause can go forth in, making sure that awareness is spread. And I would also like to emphasize that this is 2020, we can post about this on social media. We can talk to our supervisors about this. We are all educated here. And, I feel like the more we talk about it, the less sensitive it really becomes. And
Yeah.
that's when, real development happens.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this talk, is that the
Yes.
objective of this talk, I remember, was that we want to just spark a conversation.
Yeah.
With 12 people here or 15 people here, and
Imagine that each one of us, reach out to one more person, two more person, and it spreads out. It spreads out. And I'd like to actually add on. We can definitely get ourselves educated, just like how in the US, there was like the Black Lives Matters. We just need to have a solidarity, and we need to read up. I think I was doing a bit of volunteering work during the lockdown, but then I found out there's like women's aid organization, and they are very active on Instagram. I think it's very important. I think they have a lot of information that I wouldn't think that I would take interest to actually read in. Actually, they provided a lot of knowledge. So let's get educated by reading up stuff that's already being actually provided by these NGOs and this organization. They provide free shelter, mental health support, crisis support to women and children who have experienced abuse. And also like Awam, Malaysia. It's on Instagram as well. Even I saw there was like a little chart, like they made it into a very gamification kind of like bingo game, but it's like what actually is what constitutes to as a sexual harassment. And I didn't even know that, but just by making an action, looking at you in a very sexual way can also be considered as a sexual harassment.
Yeah, I
So
think the
yeah,
test that they have provided is that which may cause a person to feel humiliated and harassed.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I think these are all really great information. Who do you contact, and what and it's in all three languages. There's in Mandarin, there is in Tamil, there is English, there's Bahasa. So I believe there is people really out there doing the work. And as people, as members of the public in the community, we should get ourselves educated, and spread the word. And yeah, through these talks, hopefully today we can actually take this to the next level. Like we can actually get ourselves educated and talk about it more. The next time you are speaking to your family and friends, discuss about it. Hey, I actually just attended this talk and I would like to maybe share some of my opinions. What do you think? Yeah, and instead of talking about weather, politics,
yeah.
government, I think we can include this topic in. I think that's important.
Yes,
So
and
yeah,
Any other questions?
I think that's
Feel
all for
free.
now. I think, but these are really great questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Any last words before we finish? I mean, we try to keep this to like 30 minutes. So
And
yeah, we
I think
overshot
we
a little
might.
bit, but I think it's okay. Yeah. So what do you guys think? How would you like to maybe any last words?
I would just say that I would like to thank first and foremost. I would like to say I'm very proud of Naufa here. She
Mm,
has taken as just a law graduate and an intern. She has come very far this past 3-4 months, and I'm very proud of her seeing her as a fellow presenter. I would also like to thank everyone for coming. We wouldn't have we didn't thought we would get the support, and a lot of people have messaged me and said they can't make it, but please broadcast this talk. It has come in a timely manner. And lastly, I would like to thank Mr. Dinesh himself. He would not, without his support, me and Naufa wouldn't be here conducting this talk. And as not just a partner, as a brother, he has been more than supportive. And I think also your good self, Felicia, again,
yeah.
more than a more than a friend, you have been a biggest pillar for me in conducting this talk. Thank you so much, all of you guys.
Yep. And yep, thank you as well to Naufa and Devon, definitely to all our participants today. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, I think if we have the calling to empower and try to make the world a better place, I mean, as cliche as that sounds, but I think that's what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Let's contribute, let's spread the awareness, and most importantly now is to really come together to support each other, support our community, our family, our friends, and do stay safe, stay home wherever you can.
Thank
uh,
you.
yes, and we will uh, get this video on YouTube, hopefully, so we can share this good message. And thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. So,
Do let us know if you would like to have a part 2. And generally, if anyone would like to give us a feedback, that would be great.
yes, and if you have any further questions, I feel like we on Facebook, we on Instagram, please hit us up. Like send in your inquiries, if you have any questions related to this topic or anything, related to the legal sphere, we're there.
mm,
Yes.
yeah. All right. So, thank you guys. So, have a great evening and have a blessed week ahead.
Yes. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you.